Hello everybody, Jennifer Maker here. It's a beautiful day to make a cute paper flower sign to decorate your home. I'll show you how to resize, cut, and assemble paper flowers, apply vinyl decals, and put it all together to create an adorable sign that you can hang on the wall, display on a table, or gift to a friend. This flower sign project uses both cardstock and permanent vinyl. The permanent vinyl lays flat on the wood panel, but the cardstock gets rolled into the 3D flowers that transform this sign from a two-dimensional project to a three-dimensional project, which really makes it pop. Now you can use my PDF files to cut the designs by hand as always, but I'll use a cutting machine today to make it faster and more precise. I recommend a Cricut Maker 3, an Original Maker, any Explorer series machine, or a Cricut Venture for this project. If you use a Cricut Joy series machine, you'll have to resize the designs to fit, like resize them smaller, but you can still create this project. Now in this video, I'll show you how to make rolled daisies, roses, gardenias, and sunflowers to attach to your sign. I'll also show you how to adhere permanent vinyl designs to your sign, from the sturdy solid watering can to the delicate mason jar. If you're interested in customizing your sign with personalized sentiments or cute little tags, stay tuned to the last step for more details. As for other tools and materials you'll need, I suggest high-quality solid core cardstock. Solid core means that when you look at a sheet of cardstock from the side, you don't see a line of white. The entire sheet of cardstock is the same color through and through. You'll also need permanent vinyl in the color of your choice. I really like Cricut's permanent vinyl, which is also called premium vinyl if you go to the store to look for it. Permanent vinyl does not need heat to adhere. Instead, think of it like a big sticker. It has a backing that you peel away from the vinyl and then put onto your sign. You'll also need a hot glue gun, glue sticks, and some finger protectors to help prevent accidental burns. I've got a full list of the tools and supplies, plus links on where to find them in my materials list. It's below this video, as well as over at jennifermaker.com/612. So are you ready to get started and make this awesome sign with me? Let me show you how to get my free files, and then we'll begin. Step 1, get my free paper flower sign designs. First, download my free done-for-you designs at jennifermaker.com/612. You can either download right from that link by saving the project, or download from my entire free design collection. To find it, look for Libraries in the red bar at the top, and then click either Get a Password if you don't yet have one, or click Enter the Library. Search the page for design number 612 and click the link to download the designs. If you're not sure how to use these files, go to jennifermaker.com/svgs to learn how to download and unzip files. You can print and cut the PDF version by hand or use the DXF cut files for a cutting machine that uses them. But today I'm going to use one of the SVG files that's in the folder with my Cricut cutting machine. In the SVG folder, you'll find a file with 4 flower holder options: a cute watering can planter with a heart cut out, a low planter that says welcome, a mason jar that says home sweet home, and a low planter that says flower market. I've also included SVG files for the flowers I've used in my designs, specifically gardenias, gerbera daisies, roses with leaves, and sunflowers. Oh, and some leaves, of course. Upload the files you need to Cricut Design Space to get started. I'll show you how I prepared and assembled the watering can sign with rolled paper daisies and the mason jar sign with rolled paper flowers and gardenias. You can find written instructions with helpful photos and tips for these designs and others on my blog at jennifermaker.com. Let's start with the watering can sign with rolled paper daisies. Step 2, prepare your paper flower sign. Let's begin by measuring the blank. Mine is a wood panel. Measure your blank to find the height and width in the orientation you want to use. So my blank is a square, but you can also use signs with different dimensions. So measure the area you want to decorate. For the watering can decal, it looks best in the lower section of the sign with a 1-inch margin on either side and below it. For the bouquet, picture the final look you want. I like to have the flowers overlap the decal's top and be mounded so there are more at the bottom and just a few at the top, ending about 1 inch below the sign's edge. I think 6 flowers will be perfect for my sign. All right, now that we've got our measurements, let's upload the design files to Cricut Design Space. First, open Cricut Design Space and click New Project. Then select Blank Canvas. Click Upload and then click Upload Image. Click Browse and select the SVG file with the vase options. It's called Paper Flower Sign Jennifer Maker SVG, with dashes in between the words. And then click Continue. Click Upload to add the design to your canvas. This is what the collection of vase decals looks on the canvas. Click the Ungroup icon to ungroup the designs. I recommend always ungrouping a design after you upload it, as it will usually be grouped by default. Delete the vases that you don't want to use. I'm going to use the watering can, so I'll delete the rest. We need flowers too, so upload the flower SVG file or files of your choice to the canvas. I'm going to use the Daisy SVG. The Daisy design has 3 elements: a large yellow petal spiral, an orange petal tail, and a green base. We need more than 1 flower, of course, so let's select the grouped daisy elements and duplicate them 2 times, so there are 3 identical sets of flower elements. Now we'll need more than 3 flowers, but to save time and effort, let's make some changes to the ones we have before duplicating them to create more. I want to resize some of the flower element sets so there is some nice variation when we put everything together. Let's resize the second set of flower elements. Select the group design with the lock icon closed to maintain the proportions and resize it to 6 inches high. Now let's resize the third set of flower elements. Select the group design and with the lock icon still closed, resize it to 5 inches high. Now select all 3 sets of flower elements at the same time and duplicate them once. This will give you 6 total flowers in 3 different sizes. If you want to change the colors of any of the flower elements, expand the group in the Layers panel by clicking the arrow next to it, and then select the element you want to change the color of. You can change the color using the color box by operation up at the top of the screen. Daisies come in all different colors. I want to make my daisies out of white, yellow, orange, and red cardstock, but you can pick whatever colors you want. All right, our designs are finished and ready to cut. It's a good time to give your design a name and save it, so do that now. And make sure the correct machine is selected in the top right corner of your screen, and then click Make. On the Prepare screen, make sure the corrected material size is selected for your materials. For the vinyl, leave it at 12 by 12, but you can cut the material slightly larger than the design area to save the rest for another project. Don't toggle mirror on for any of your mats since we're using cardstock and adhesive permanent vinyl. It's not needed. Click back on your first mat so your Cricut knows to start there, and then click Continue. On the Make screen, choose your material settings. For the cardstock, I'm using medium cardstock 80 pounds with more pressure. For the adhesive permanent vinyl, I'm using the premium vinyl permanent glossy setting, again with more pressure. The extra pressure typically helps give you a cleaner cut. Now place your first mat's material face up on a green standard grip machine mat. Mine is cardstock. Roll a brayer across the materials to make sure it's fully adhered to the mat. This will really help you get cleaner cuts. Check that your premium fine point blade is clean and in the clamp. Then press the flashing load and unload button to load the prepared mat into your Cricut. And then press the flashing go button to begin cutting. When it's finished cutting, don't unload the mat right away. Instead, gently lift a corner of your material to make sure the material is cut all the way. If not, press the go button again, that's the middle button, and to make the same cuts in the same spots. When the cuts are all good, unload the mat, flip the mat over onto your work surface, and roll the mat back to release the material. Doing it like this prevents the material from curling and ripping and tearing. Now set your cut pieces aside and continue cutting the rest of your cardstock mats. When you get to the mat for your watering can, which is going to be done with adhesive vinyl, remember to place the vinyl shiny side up on the mat so it covers the design area shown on the screen. And also use a brayer to make sure it's really well adhered. Once the vinyl cut is complete, unload the mat and leave the design on the mat to keep it still and in place during weeding. All right, now using a weeding tool, carefully peel away the extra background vinyl. I like to work from the larger to smaller sections during weeding. Just poke your weeding tool into each section you want to remove inside the design and gently lift it away. And once you've got everything, just flip the mat over and roll it back to release the vinyl. Here are what my cut and weeded decal and the flowers look like. Step 3, assemble your paper flower sign. There are a few steps to assembling your sign. First, let's apply the decal to the wood panel. Use scissors to cut a piece of standard grip transfer tape that is slightly larger than the decal. We'll use this transfer tape to move the decal from its backing and onto the wood panel. Remove the backer from the transfer tape and place the transfer tape face down on a decal using the taco method. If you don't know what that is, all you need to do is hold the transfer tape in the shape of a taco or a U shape like this, and then put the bottom of the taco onto the middle of your design. Smooth the transfer tape over the decal from the center outward and burnish it down using a scraper tool on both sides. Gently bend the decal in half side to side, and then make a small crease in the center edges on the top and bottom of the transfer tape, just like this. Be careful not to crease the vinyl itself, however. Now gently bend the decal in half in the other direction, and make small creases in both center edges of the transfer tape. Remember not to crease the vinyl itself. Now place the sign blank in the correct orientation on your work surface. Make sure that any hanging hardware on your wood panel is on the top side. Using a ruler or measuring tape and pencil, determine the middle of the width of the wood sign at the bottom edge. Then measure 1 inch up from the bottom of the wood sign. Make a small mark there in the middle. This is where we'll line up the bottom of the decal. Now let's apply the watering can decal to the sign. Peel the backer off of the decal so that vinyl moves to the transfer tape. Now hold the decal, which is still on the transfer tape, over the wood sign so the bottom is 1 inch up from the lower edge and the middle creases align with the pencil mark. Make sure the creases at the sides are even so the decal won't be skewed. Now gently place the decal on the sign and using your finger, rub from the center of the vinyl outward, tacking the decal into place. Then take your time and use a scraper to press out as many bubbles as possible, again working from the inside outward. If your blank has some texture like mine does, run the scraper in the direction of the texture. Gently pull the transfer tape off the decal, leaving the vinyl on the wood sign just like this. And then use your scraper tool to gently smooth out any bubbles that you missed, working from the center outward. If there are stubborn bubbles that you just can't push out, poke a tiny hole with your weeding tool to let the air out and then smooth it down with your scraper. And now your decal is done. Let's work on the flowers next. They're super easy to make. First, plug in your hot glue gun and have some finger protectors ready too so you don't burn yourself. Now mix and match the tails and the big spiral pieces of flowers of the same size, so the flowers will have contrasting outer petals and centers. Each flower should have 2 different colors. Use your glue gun to glue the new pairs together so the adjacent petals slightly overlap. Put the loose center end of a flower spiral in the rolling tool's spindle slot. I'm using a flow tool here, but you can also use a regular quilling tool or even a pair of tweezers. While keeping the flower's end in place, roll the tool toward you so the spiral begins winding around the spindle and itself. Continue rolling your paper flower daisy, keeping the bottom edges aligned with one another as best you can. If you're using the flow tool, the platform around the spindle helps you keep the bottom edges aligned. It's one of the reasons I love using this tool. When almost the entire spiral is rolled around the spindle, hold the flower lightly and remove the tool. Don't hold the flower too tightly though, because it will be hard to remove the tool if you do that. So relax your grip on the spiral just a little bit to let the tool come loose and allow the flower to unfurl just a little. Now roll the rest of the spiral around the flower and fold up the circle to touch the bottom edge. If the flower doesn't seem to unfurl as you would expect, it could be that one of the separate petals is caught on another petal. Just gently separate it with your fingers. And if you like, you can unwind the center to open the flower up more. A weeding tool or tweezers can help you loosen the middle while keeping the rest of the flower together. All right, so now it's time to glue it, so put on your finger protectors. Add hot glue to the base circle and press it against the bottom edges of the flower petals to set it. Hold the circle in place to let the glue dry. There's one more piece to add, so put hot glue on top of the green 8-point leaf circle, and then press the daisy down on it to adhere it. Use your fingers, the flow tool, or another tool to press all the petals outward, away from the center, even the little ones. Roll the rest of the daisies using the same method. Remember that we adjusted the daisies to be different sizes. Now the last step is to attach the flowers to the sign. So first, without using any glue yet, place the flowers down above the watering can decal on the wood sign and move them around until you find an arrangement you like. Once you're happy with the arrangement, lift the flower up and apply hot glue to the bottom side. Place the flower back down on the wood sign and gently press down to adhere it. And then just repeat until everything is glued down. Now let me show you how to make the mason jar with paper roses and gardenias. Step 1, get the mason jar designs. Follow the steps from option 1 from earlier in this video to check your sign's measurements and plan your sign's layout and upload the mason jar, gardenia, and rose SVGs to your canvas. Step 2, prepare your paper flower sign. Since the mason jar has a smaller opening than the watering can that we did earlier, I'm going to make fewer flowers. I think 7 flowers will be perfect. Duplicate the rose 2 times and the gardenia 3 times. You should now have 3 roses and 4 gardenias. Let's resize some of the flower element sets so that there is some nice variation when we put everything together. Remember to keep the lock icon closed to maintain the design's proportions. Select the second rose and resize it to 6 inches high. Select the third rose and resize it to 4.5 inches high. And then select the second gardenia and resize it to 9 inches high. Select the third gardenia and resize it to 7.75 inches high. And then resize the fourth gardenia to 7.75 inches high as well. If you want to change the colors of any of the flower elements, select the element and then change the color up at the top. Your designs are finished and ready to cut. Check that the correct machine is selected in the top right corner of the screen and then click Make. Follow the preparation and cutting steps from option 1 to cut your vinyl decal and the cardstock gardenias, roses, and leaves. Now the mason jar design is detailed and delicate, so I really suggest you weed it while it's still on the machine mat. It really makes a difference. So just use a weeding tool to carefully pull away the extra background vinyl from around the mason jar, and then weed the extra vinyl inside the jar by poking your weeding tool into each section that you want to remove. I like to work from larger to smaller sections during weeding, and then gently lift it away from the design. Here are what my cut and weeded decal and the flowers look like. Step 3. Assemble your mason jar flower sign. Let's prepare the mason jar vinyl decal first. Follow the steps in option 1 to transfer your vinyl decal to your sign. Now, working with a delicate decal like the mason jar has different challenges than a filled-in design like the watering can from earlier, but the basics are still the same. Just be really sure to focus your burnishing movements on the vinyl, because the thin lines are more likely to shift if you're not careful since they cover less area. Gently burnishing from the back can also help here, but once the backing is off, you can prepare it the same way to create the alignment creases that I showed you earlier. When transferring the vinyl to the blank, very gently but thoroughly burnish on top of all of the vinyl parts. Once you remove the transfer tape, use your fingers to smooth down the vinyl to eliminate bubbles. Don't use a scraper on this delicate design. It'll probably take extra time to make sure the vinyl is burnished down well using just your fingers, but the result is worth it. So take your time and work gently to avoid issues. And that's it, the decal is done. Now let's make the rose and gardenia flowers. Plug in your hot glue gun and have your finger protectors ready, but don't put them on quite yet. Let's start with the rose. Follow the steps in option 1 for the daisy to roll the rose with a flow tool or quilling tool. Once you've rolled the rose and removed it from the rolling tool, allow it to loosen just a little bit. Now put on your finger protectors. Add hot glue to the base circle and press it against the bottom edges of the flower petal to set it. Hold the circle in place to let the glue dry. Use your fingers, a flow tool, or another tool to press all of the petals outward, away from the center, even the little ones. Real roses have petals that are shaped or curled outward. This will really make your paper flower look more realistic. Now roll the rest of the roses using the same method. To assemble a gardenia, glue all of the strips of petals together, end to end. Start with the smaller petals and then the larger ones. And roll the gardenia the same way as the rose, starting with the smaller petals. Once the gardenia is completely rolled up, remove it from your quilling tool and hold it together so it doesn't unroll. Add hot glue to the 8-point leaf circle and press the bottom of the gardenia roll into place. Roll the rest of the gardenias using the same method. And the flowers are now ready to add to the sign. All right, now, without using any glue, first place the flowers and leaves down above the mason jar decal on the wood sign and move them around until you find an arrangement that you like. Then, just like with option 1, lift each flower or leaf, apply hot glue to the bottom side, and gently press it back down onto the sign. Step 4, show it off. Here are what our finished paper flower signs look like. Aren't they just so cute? Step 5, customize it. Would you like to learn how to customize your paper flower sign with your own sentiments and tags? You can learn how through a special program called Advanced with Jennifer Maker. The Advanced program helps to advance your crafting skills by teaching you how to make these popular designs unique and special through tutorials and templates, as well as give you advanced access to my vast library of designs, projects, and resources. I may or may not be accepting new members into the Advanced program at the time you see this, but if you're interested, go to jennifermaker.com/advance to learn more and see how it all works. I think that these signs turned out really adorable. Using both flat vinyl and cardstock shaped into the 3D flowers really makes these signs special. I really love that you can mix and match flower types and colors to create unique bouquets. You could also use different shapes of blanks to really make this project your own. Now I do have one more design I want to show you, and that's this cute sign with a planter decal and rolled paper sunflowers. This design is created in the same way as the others, and I have detailed instructions with photos on my blog at jennifermaker.com/612. And if you want to learn how to customize the sentiments on the planters and make cardstock tags with your own sentiments, check out my advanced program at jennifermaker.com/advance, where you can advance your skills and make more together with me. And are you in need of a Cricut cutting machine to make your crafting dreams come true? I want to help you out. I do a regular giveaway over on my blog at jennifermaker.com/Cricut giveaway. Get all the details and enter for your chance to win. If you have any Cricut or craft-related questions that you think I can help you with, please let me know. Just leave your question below this video or come ask in our awesome Cricut Crafters group at jennifermaker.com/CricutCrafters. And I would love it if you would share a photo of your finished paper flower sign with us over in our group. I can't wait to see what you create. I truly love looking at your photos. And that's it for today. Until next time, this is Jennifer Maker reminding you to craft a life you love.